Chapter 23. The Ordeal. The auction was set to start at 5. People could come in to look at the items from 4 o'clock. The friends showed up at 3 and spent an hour checking out the machinery exhibit next door. "Looks like," said Ostap, "if we're lucky, we could buy that little locomotive tomorrow. Too bad there's no price listed. Still, it'd be nice to own your own train." Ippolit Matveyevich was restless. Only the chairs could calm him down. He didn't take his eyes off them, except for the moment when the auctioneer climbed up to the podium in his checkered, century-old pants and a beard that spilled over his Russian-style smock. Partners took seats in the 4th row on the right. Ippolit Matveyevich was a bundle of nerves. He was sure the chairs would be up for sale any second, but they were lot number 43, and first up was the usual auction junk: mismatched dinnerware, a gravy boat, a silver glass holder, a landscape by Petunin, a beaded purse, a brand-new Primus burner, a bust of Napoleon, linen bras, a tapestry called Hunter Shooting Wild Ducks, and other random stuff. They had to wait. Waiting was torture. All the chairs were right there. The goal was so close, almost within reach. There'd be a real commotion here, thought Ostap, scanning the crowd, if they knew what a prize was hiding in those chairs. "Figure representing justice," the auctioneer announced. "Bronze, in perfect condition, 5 rubles. Who'll give more? 650 on the right, 7 in the back, 8 in the front row, 8 going once, 8 going twice. Sold, front row." A girl rushed over to the winner, with a receipt to collect the money. The auctioneer's gavel kept tapping. Ashtrays from the palace, baccarat glassware, a porcelain powder box, all went under the hammer. Time dragged on painfully. Bronze bust of Alexander III, could be a paperweight, doesn't seem good for much else. Bidding starts at the listed price. The crowd burst out laughing. "Buy it, chief," Ostap teased. "You seem to like that sort of thing." Ippolit Matveyevich didn't take his eyes off the chairs and stayed silent. "No takers, the bust is withdrawn. Next, a figure of justice. Looks like a pair to the one just sold. Vasily, show the crowd justice. 5 rubles, who'll give more?" Someone in the front row started breathing heavily. Clearly, he wanted the full set. 5 rubles for the bronze, justice. 6, called out a man. 6 in the front, 7, 9 in the back right. 950, the justice fan said quietly, raising his hand. 950 front row, going once, going twice, sold. The girl swooped in again. The man paid and shuffled off to collect his justices. 10 chairs from the palace, the auctioneer suddenly announced. "From the palace," Ippolit Matveyevich gasped. Ostap snapped, "Oh, shut up, just listen and don't make a scene." 10 palace chairs, walnut, Alexander II era, excellent condition, made by Gam's workshop. "Vasily, bring one up under the lamp." Vasily dragged the chair so roughly that Ippolit Matveyevich jumped. "Sit down, you idiot," Ostap hissed. "Sit, I said." Ippolit Matveyevich's jaw was trembling. Ostap tensed, his eyes lighting up. 10 walnut chairs, 80 rubles. The room perked up. This was something people actually needed. Hands shot up one after another. Ostap stayed calm. "Why aren't you bidding?" Vorobyaninov snapped at him. "Get lost," Ostap replied through clenched teeth. 120 in the back, 135, 140. Ostap turned his back to the podium and coolly eyed his competitors. The auction was in full swing, no empty seats left. Right behind Ostap, a woman, after whispering with her husband, decided she wanted the chairs, such lovely armchairs, beautiful work, Sasha from the palace, and raised her hand. 145, 5th row right, once. The room went quiet, too expensive. 145, twice. Ostap studied the molding on the ceiling, indifferent. Ippolit Matveyevich sat with his head down, shaking. 145, 3. But before the black lacquered gavel hit the podium, Ostap turned, shot his hand up, and said quietly, 200. Every head turned toward the partners. Caps, hats, and fedoras shifted. The auctioneer bored looked up at Ostap. 200 once, he said. 200, 4th row right twice. No more bids. 200 for the palace walnut set, 10 pieces. 203, 4th row right. The gavel hovered. "Mama," Ippolit Matveyevich blurted out. Ostap, pink and calm, smiled. The gavel fell with a heavenly sound. "Sold," said the auctioneer. "Miss, 4th row right." "Well, Chairman, was that dramatic enough?" Ostap asked. "What would you do without your technical director?" Ippolit Matveyevich let out a happy whoop. The girl hurried over. "You bought the chairs." "We did," Ippolit Matveyevich burst out, barely able to contain himself. "We did. When can we pick them up?" "Whenever you want, even now." The tune "You Wander Everywhere" started bouncing around Ippolit Matveyevich's head. "Our chairs, ours, ours." His whole body was shouting it. "Ours," yelled his liver. "Ours," echoed his intestines. He was so happy he felt his pulse in the strangest places. Everything buzzed and shook with the force of his joy. He pictured a train approaching the St. Gotthard Pass. On the last car's open platform stood Ippolit Matveyevich Vorobyaninov in white pants, smoking a cigar. Edelweiss flowers drifted onto his head, now crowned with shiny aluminum gray hair. Ippolit Matveyevich was rolling into Eden. Why is it 230, not 200? Ippolit Matveyevich heard. Ostap was turning the receipt over in his hands. That's the 15% commission, the girl explained. Well, what can you do? Pay up. Ostap pulled out his wallet, counted out 200 rubles, and turned to the chairman. Cough up 30, my dear fellow, and make it quick, the lady's waiting. Well. Ippolit Matveyevich made no move to get his money. Well, why are you looking at me like a soldier at a louse, stunned by happiness? I don't have the money, Ippolit Matveyevich finally mumbled. Who doesn't? Ostap asked very quietly. I don't. And the 200. I lost it. Ostap looked at Vorobyaninov, quickly taking in his crumpled face, greenish cheeks, and puffy eyes. Give me the money, he whispered with hatred, you old bastard. So are you going to pay? The girl asked. One moment, Ostap said, flashing a charming smile, just a little hiccup. Suddenly, Ippolit Matveyevich, spitting everywhere, burst in. Excuse me, why a commission? We weren't told about any commission. You should warn people. I refuse to pay those 30 rubles. Fine, the girl said sweetly. I'll take care of it. She took the receipt and hurried to the auctioneer, whispered a few words. The auctioneer stood up at once, his beard shining under the bright lights. According to auction rules, he declared loudly, anyone refusing to pay the full amount for an item they've bought must leave the hall. The sale of the chairs is cancelled. The stunned friends sat frozen. I must ask you to leave, said the auctioneer. The effect was huge. The crowd laughed nastily. Ostap still didn't get up. He hadn't taken a hit like this in a long time. I must ask you to leave, the auctioneer sang, in a voice that brooked no argument. The laughter grew. And so they left. Few people ever walked out of an auction with such a bitter feeling. Vorobyaninov went first, shoulders hunched in his shrunken jacket and silly baron's boots, like a crane, feeling the warm, friendly gaze of the great schemer on his back. The partners stopped in a room next to the auction hall. Now they could only watch the action through a glass door. The way was blocked. Ostap stayed silent. Outrageous, Ippolit Matveyevich muttered nervously. A total disgrace. We should report them to the police. Ostap said nothing. No, really, this is insane, Vorobyaninov went on. They're gouging working people, 230 rubles for 10 used chairs. It's madness. Yeah, Ostap said woodenly. Right, madness. Sure. Ostap stepped close to Vorobyaninov, glanced around, and gave him a quick hard jab in the ribs, so fast no one else noticed. There's your police, there's your expensive chairs for the working class, there's your late-night strolls with the ladies, there's your gray hair, there's your midlife crisis. Ippolit Matveyevich didn't make a sound through the whole ordeal. To an outsider, it might have looked like a respectful son talking to his father, except the father was shaking his head a bit too energetically. Now get lost. Ostap turned his back on the chairman and stared into the auction hall. After a minute, he turned around. Ippolit Matveyevich was still standing there, arms at his sides. Oh, you're still here, life of the party. Go on, well. Comrade Bender, pleaded Vorobyaninov. Comrade Bender. Go and don't come to Ivan Ippolit, I'll throw you out. Comrade Bender. Ostap didn't look back. Something in the hall caught his attention so much that he cracked the door and listened. It's all over, he muttered. What's over? Vorobyaninov asked, eager to please. They're selling the chairs one by one, that's what. Want to buy one? Go ahead. I doubt they'll let you in, and you don't have much money, do you? Meanwhile, in the auction hall, the auctioneer, realizing he couldn't squeeze 200 rubles out of the crowd at once, too much for the small fry left, decided to get it in pieces. The chairs went back up for sale, but now individually. 4 palace chairs, walnut, upholstered, Gam's work 30 rubles, who'll give more. Ostap's resolve and coolness returned in a flash. All right, ladies man, stand here and don't go anywhere. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Watch who buys what. Don't let a single chair slip away. A plan was forming in Bender's head, the only possible one in these tough circumstances. He dashed out to Petrovka Street and headed for the nearest asphalt kettle. From 10 yards away, he spotted a young guy setting up a camera tripod. In the kettle sat a group of street kids. As soon as they saw they were about to be photographed, they started defending themselves. Chunks of tar flew at the photographer. He jumped back, dragging his tripod like an altar. Crossing to the other sidewalk, the photographer tried to snap the kids from a distance. The little ruffians abandoned the kettle and charged him. Fearing for his camera, the photographer escaped down Petrovka Lane. From the crowd, a photojournalist from a rival magazine strolled out. The street kids eyed him warily, but the crowd excited him, like pretty girls excite a bullfighter. He was a sharp psychologist, too. He walked up, handed the kids a 50-kopeck coin, and within a minute they were sitting nicely in the kettle, posing for photos. Thanks, he said out of habit, all done. The crowd laughed approvingly as they dispersed. Then Ostap got down to business with the kids. As promised, he was back with Ippolit Matveyevich in 5 minutes. The street kids were waiting by the auction entrance. "They're selling them, Ippolit Matveyevich whispered. "4 gone, 2 more just sold." "Thanks to you," Ostap said. "You really helped. We had it all in our hands, you know. Can you even grasp that?" Inside, the auctioneer's scratchy voice rang out, the kind only auctioneers, croupiers, and glaziers are born with. 50 to the left, 3, another palace chair, walnut, perfect condition 50 front row, once 50 front row. 3 chairs sold one by one. The auctioneer announced the last chair. Ostap was choking with anger. He turned on Vorobyaninov again, his insults full of bitterness. Who knows how far Ostap would have gone with his sarcasm if he hadn't been interrupted by a man in a brownish lod suit. The man waved his pudgy hands, bent, hopped, and bounced like he was playing tennis. "Tell me," he asked Ostap quickly, "is this really an auction?" "Yes, an auction, and they really sell things here, wonderful." He beamed with 1,000 smiles. "So you can really buy things cheap here, top-notch, very, very, ah." Wiggling his chubby hips, the stranger dashed into the hall past the stunned partners and bought the last chair so fast that Vorobyaninov could only grunt. Receipt in hand, the stranger ran to the pickup counter. "Can I take the chair now? Wonderful, ah." Leading non-stop and always in motion, the stranger loaded the chair onto a cab and rode off, a street kid chasing after him. Little by little, all the new chair owners left. Ostap's young agents followed them. He left too, with Ippolit Matveyevich trailing nervously behind. The day felt like a dream to him. Everything had happened so fast and nothing like he'd expected. On Sivtsev Vrajek, pianos, mandolins, and accordions were celebrating spring. Windows were wide open. Flower pots crowded the sills. A fat man with a hairy chest and suspenders stood at a window, singing passionately. A cat crept along the wall. Kerosene lamps glowed in the grocery stalls. By the pink house, Kolya was strolling. Seeing Ostap ahead, he nodded politely and walked up to Vorobyaninov. Ippolit Matveyevich greeted him warmly. Kolya didn't waste time. "Good evening," he said firmly, and unable to resist, smacked Ippolit Matveyevich on the ear. At the same time, Kolya said something pretty lame, in Ostap's opinion. "That's what happens," Kolya said in a childish voice, "to anyone who tries." He didn't finish the sentence. He stood on tiptoe, closed his eyes, and slapped Vorobyaninov on the cheek. Ippolit Matveyevich raised his elbow, but didn't dare make a sound. "Right," Ostap commented. "Now a couple to the neck, that's it. Sometimes the eggs have to teach the hen a lesson, one more there. Don't hit him on the head, though, that's his weak spot." If the conspirators back in Stargorod could have seen the giant of thought and father of Russian democracy, at this critical moment, the secret sword and plow society would probably have disbanded on the spot. "Well, that's enough," Kolya said, putting his hand in his pocket. "One more," Ostap begged. "Forget it, he'll know better next time." Kolya left. Ostap went up to Ivan S and looked down. Ippolit Matveyevich stood across from the house, leaning against the iron embassy fence. "Citizen Michelson," Ostap called. "Konrad Karlovich, come inside, I permit it." Ippolit Matveyevich came in, looking a little more alive. "Unbelievable nerve," he said angrily. "I barely held myself back." "Oh dear," Ostap sympathized. "Kids these days, terrible, chasing other men's wives, spending other people's money, total decline. By the way, when you get hit on the head, does it really hurt?" "I'll challenge him to a duel." "Great, I can recommend a friend of mine. Knows the dueling code by heart and owns 2 brooms, perfect for a fight to the death. Ivan Ippulit and the neighbor on the right can be your seconds. He's a former honorary citizen of Kologriv and still brags about it. Or you could duel with meat grinders, much more elegant. Every wound is fatal. The loser gets turned into ground beef. How's that, chief?" Just then, a whistle came from the street, and Ostap went out to get a report from his young agents. Street kids had done their job well. 4 chairs ended up at the Columbus Theater. One kid described in detail how they were hauled on a cart and dragged in through the stage door. Ostap knew the theater's location well. 2 chairs were taken by a fancy lady in a cab, according to another kid. He wasn't the sharpest, though. He remembered the alley Varsinofievsky and even the apartment number 17, but couldn't recall the building number. "I was running too fast," he said, "slipped my mind." "No money for you," Ostap said. "Aw, come on, I'll show you." "All right, stay here, we'll go together." The bleeding stranger, it turned out, lived on Sadovaya-Spaskaya. Ostap wrote down the exact address. The 8th chair went to the House of Nations. The kid who followed it was a real sleuth. He got past the guards and couriers, made it inside, and saw the chair bought by the supply manager of the Stenka editorial office. 2 more kids were still out. They showed up almost at the same time, out of breath. "Barracks Alley near Kistai Prudi. Number 9, apartment 9. There are toddlers living next door in the yard. I carried the chair for him. We walked." Last messenger brought bad news. At first, everything was fine, but then it went south. The buyer took the chair into the freight yard at the October station, and there was no way to follow. Armed guards were at the gate. Probably left town, the kid finished. This worried Ostap. He rewarded the kids handsomely, a ruble each, except for the one who forgot the house number. He was told to come back early the next day. The technical director went home, ignoring the questions of the disgraced chairman, and started scheming. Nothing was lost yet. They had addresses, and there were plenty of tried-and-true ways to get the chairs. 1, simple acquaintance. 2, a love affair. 3, breaking and entering. 4, trade. 5, money. And 6, more money. The last was the surest, but they were short on cash. Ostap shot a sarcastic look at Ippolit Matveyevich. The great schemer felt his usual sharpness and calm return. They could always get more money. They still had the painting Bolsheviks writing a letter to Chamberlain, a tea strainer, and the option to keep up his career as a serial husband. Only the 10th chair was a worry. There was a lead, but it was vague and hazy. Well, Ostap said loudly, those are odds worth playing. I'm betting 9 to 1. The meeting continues. Hear that, you juror.